Hey guys, had to run from the cabin to keep the dogs away so they'd stay there, because they try following and they're just too little to walk all this way. Oh, it's a beautiful day. It's been raining. It's just awesome weather. There's another train coming. Such a beautiful day. Oh man, oh man, oh man, guys. See this? How it kind of looks all gray and dying? This is what they do all over the world. They spray poison. They poison all the, you know, can you imagine along every road, around all the fences, just all, and sometimes like I don't know, I've done a couple videos on it. I seen it in Texas first when I was there about 5 years ago. They had these, look like crop dusters, go over and just dump all kinds of Agent Orange or whatever it is, Roundup or something, all over the oak trees and all the, you know, for acres and acres and acres and acres of it. Just wipe out acres of it. And I don't even know why they do it, because they leave it sit there and it all dies, and then I guess they have to still come in and cut it all out or something. But, you know, they don't take any care for the animals. There's deer, rabbits, possums and squirrels and bugs and plants and vital fauna and flora all over the ground. It just dies. Everything dies. And, you know, I get that probably a lot of it grows back, and they do this year after year, and they think, well, it's not hurting anything. It's just like a weed whacker. We're just using it like a weed whacker. Just cuts all this stuff out. But we don't know what it's doing genetically. You know, evolution is something that, you know, the same thing that's going on with our bodies. We're becoming can't even think of the word right now, but like the penicillins and everything. Your body's not affected by it anymore. Builds up an immunity to it. You have to get stronger and stronger. Antifungal, antibacterial agents. Every time you just have to keep getting stronger ones. And pretty soon, the disease gets so strong you can't fight it. It kills everything. And that's what's happening. The world is going to end up just... What are you doing? Did you leave the puppies back there? I told you don't come with those puppies. I hope you didn't bring any of those poor puppies. They might get lost out here, hon. She knows I told her not to come without making sure the puppies stay there. I guess she did it because there's no puppies. So, but I'm worried that they'll follow her about halfway and then be out in the street or something. Because I don't have anywhere to keep the dogs except there in the yard. They're under the house and on the porch. They sleep on the porch. And they just kind of walk around where they want to. Everybody's pretty good in this town. But it's just a nice day to get a little walk in. But have you guys ever heard of James Forrestal? Some of you have, I'm sure. There's a lot we don't know. I think it was in 1949 he was said to have committed suicide by jumping off of a building or out of a window. Yeah, I think he was on the 17th floor or the 16th. I'm not sure. But it's interesting because they say he only fell 13 stories. 13? But anyway, he was the Secretary of the Defense. He was accredited as the man who won World War II. His genius, you know. He knew everything. Being the Secretary of Defense, he knew everything, all top secret stuff. He was friends with Eisenhower. And there's some information, if you look into it, that he was friends with Kennedy when he was not even famous, when Kennedy was just a boy. And Kennedy and him were friends, and a lot of weird stuff about those times, Kennedy and some of these guys. But it's been rumored that he was murdered and he didn't jump on purpose. Now I guess there's very good evidence that it's beyond a shadow of a doubt he was murdered. So why was he murdered? Well, before he was murdered, several hours before that, he was scheduled to be released from this mental hospital in a few hours before he was murdered. So they didn't want him to get out of that. They had put him in a mental institution, had him under guard so he couldn't escape. And of course, if you read about it, it's going to sound like, oh, he was just under the stress of it all, and he needed some counseling or something. So, a man who's that high up in the government, that smart, doesn't just go crazy. And many people said that he wasn't crazy. He was forced into that place because he knew things. And they took him there hoping that they could keep him there forever or something, or convince him not to talk. We're not sure. But evidently he was fooling them, pretending he was better, and they had him scheduled to be released. But there was somebody that didn't want him released, so they threw him out the window. But anyway, this guy knew all kinds. Remember, after World War II, so he died in 49. A lot of things happened in 1947, like Roswell, UFO things, Eisenhower, all this was going on. Admiral Byrd had made a lot of different statements. We're not sure if he really made those statements. He went to the North or the South Pole. People are claiming that he said some things like there was land beyond the poles. We don't know if he meant beyond the ice shelf, or if he meant literally beyond the pole itself, because beyond the pole there is quite a bit of land. There's the whole continent down there. But there were rumors, there supposedly were books, statements that were written at one time that they've gotten rid of. It's come up missing. But he was supposed to have said things like he saw a mammoth, forests and mountains, a couple of 100 miles of this beautiful land with no snow or ice on it. And there's rumors that he may have seen some disc-shaped UFOs. And all of this was going on about the same time. There's rumors that they shut Admiral Byrd up too. But this Forrestal is an interesting guy because it was known very clearly that he was very much against the communists. Oh, he was literally hated communism. And he also hated the state. Remember, because 1948 was when they made Israel a state. Well, he was against that. And there were quite a few people in power in the United States that were anti-communist. There was about, not too long before that, that they were talking about communists in Hollywood. Well, now we call them socialists, you know, Bavarians. They run the whole world. But they were taking over Congress, and there were lots of people in our government that was good people. I don't know if Forrestal was a good person, but I can tell you that he was opposed to the people that were taking over. Now, whether he knew they were really UFOs, or if that's one of those stories, now you wonder, why is there all this scuttlebutt about UFOs? And right now in the news, they're talking about, well, on Fox News and other places, Tucker Carlson was mentioning this, that they've publicly said that there's definitely unidentified flying saucers that have far more advanced technology than we do, they're claiming. And they're going, you know, into the sea, and the sea opens up and swallows them, and they go under the ground, under the earth. Well, when Hitler was still in power, he was sending people all over the world. One of the places he sent them to was Antarctic, and they supposedly found underground cities and, you know, some alien beings, and we don't know exactly what. This is all like rumors. We don't know if it was stuff that was actually said and it's been hushed up and all the people were killed, or what was going on. But we do know that something was going on down there. And Kennedy was assassinated. We don't know if that was just one of those Epstein things and he went off to an island, or if he really was murdered because he was against something that was about to take place in about after World War II. Whoever these people were, they took over the world. So there's a lot of people that are thinking it's UFOs, people from another planet, had a base on the Antarctic. Forrestal knew about it, was about to go public, and they murdered him. Kennedy was going to go public, and they murdered him. They created the CIA at the same time. So whoever these, there's no question that somebody took over the government, took over the world. And they must have had a lot of power before that time. But it appears that they did something at around that time to literally gain control of every mind and corporation and government entity around the world. And right around that time, 1948, 47, there were people that were still hanging on to this view that America was great and we're a free country and we don't want communists in here and we don't want to back the state of Israel. Well, in order to get that thing passed, they had to have these kind of people out of the way. So a lot of these individuals came up missing at that time. And all we hear is that they committed suicide or something. But there's no question in my mind that whoever they are, they took over the United States lock, stock, and barrel in around 1948. And started using Hollywood as their propaganda piece. Taking over the schools, curriculum, government, parliaments around the world. Murdering people that were in business, somehow made it to the top. They couldn't just take people like him out because he was highly loved by America. He was loved by many people Forrestal. And they couldn't just hush him up. He had influence, so they had to just get rid of him. But I'll tell you what I'm pretty darn sure of. It's not UFOs. I think that's propaganda. Another backstory to give people something to go off on a wild tangent on. Oh, it's UFOs, they're taking over. This takes away the responsibility of humans and puts it down as something. Well, that's a pretty weird mushroom there, isn't it? Hope that's not one of those powdered mushrooms that you just take one whiff of it and you're dead or something. There's another one here. Weird. Just powdered mushrooms, and there's another one here. Isn't that weird? In every... Now see, where they sprayed this with these chemicals, it killed the mushrooms too. And turned them to powder. All the way along here. All the way along. Crazy. So, if they didn't start these rumors about UFOs or some other crazy idea, we would never think of blaming it on aliens from some other world, right? That no one's ever seen. Yeah, we've seen discs in the air. I've seen them. Who made them? There's plenty of evidence that Hitler was building them, that we were building them. And then they had this big story about, you know how the moon landing was faked, and we all know that just by looking at the pictures. Well, take a look at the Roswell crash. That's all fake. So who faked it? Why is it still circulating? And everybody's, oh, Roswell and the aliens, and people study this for years. They research all this for years. And of course they find things to keep them going because they're planted. Story like the Roswell incident. And the Admiral Byrd and all these other stories. And nobody knows why they were all murdered and it was shoved under the rug and there's all the secrecy. And so they think, well, maybe it's aliens. Who would do this? Humans wouldn't do this to other humans. So it's got to be aliens. And after all, they've created NASA about the same time, right? And NASA built this whole story up. That we're living on this little bubble in infinite space with other bubbles. And we're flying around in like dust in the wind. They even had a song came out about the same time. Oh, we're all dust in the wind, And we believed it. So, of course, it's probably somebody from out there in the dust that came down here and they hate us. Maybe they're reptilians. Is David Icke working for them? Like, Icke? Ike? Another Bavarian? I'm sorry, David. I love you, brother, but I'm telling you, I'm suspicious of everything. They start these things. Sitchin started some gobbledygook to explain away more gobbledygook to get us off on a wild goose chase over here, over there. Belenkowski and all these things that perpetuates the idea that somehow that there's stars a zillion trillion light years away. What is a light year? We don't know. Long ways. And we can see with our little telescope, zillion light years away. You and I can't even see nothing but a little speck of light. But they can see the planets around it and whether they got water, carbon, whether there's life out there on another planet a zillion light years away. These guys are incredible. They're geniuses. And they start stories like Lyd Skalman in Florida, a place called Homestead, Florida, where he built this castle. And they're like, we don't know how he did it. One man, one hermit out in the middle of nowhere, broke, had no money to even eat. He was starving to death. Broken-hearted because he left, I don't know, some Scandinavian country. And, you know, had a pension of 20 cents a month or something, and he saved 15 cents and scraped up enough money to build this huge castle with these stones, some of them weighing tons. And they claim that he left a book behind and said that he reversed gravitation in the rocks and just levitated them. Or we got this story around Tesla. And of course, Tesla is now the name of a car company, and we're making electric cars. And the richest man in the world is pulling this off, pulling the plug on the oil. We're all going to starve to death now because of this. But don't worry, it's all right. We got electric cars now. Okay? Of course, in order to have enough electricity to charge that thing, we're going to have oil and power plants. How are we going to run that? So, you know, when Mad Max comes, you're not going to be driving cars or electric cars. I guess you could use solar panels. Blue! Come on! Oh, what's going on? What are you barking at? I mean, you know, maybe a solar panel or two could charge your car. I don't know. But anyway, neither here nor there. It's all propaganda. All these stories that they make up about aliens and Nibiru and the lines at Nazca, who built the pyramids, they perpetuate the speculation, and they get people completely convinced that we're being taken over by some alien from another star, which we don't even know if there are any such things as stars, and in that sense, or that people could even come here from there. But we're certain of it. Couldn't possibly be some entity on this earth, or some fallen angels called demons, like the Bible actually said. We can't have a belief in God, you know, or the divine being. Working to somebody. Somebody's here. Get over here. Come on. Probably up there watching me. Somebody in a golf cart pulled up. Sorry guys. Mystery at the OK Corral here. Some guy in a golf cart. I'll just walk over here. But they mow it a little bit here too. So, anyway, Tesla is supposed to be some genius, right? And invented the internet, basically, which led to CERN and a time machine. And interestingly enough, Donald Trump, his uncle, was right in there with Forrestal. And now he's president, see? So there's a lot going on in there that we don't too many coincidences. There's too many little things that just don't add up. Or that they do add up. And they add up to conspiracy. Conspiracy. To keep human beings from knowing the truth. That our world is run by Satan. And Satan really doesn't have any authority or power over us. We can choose to be free. But they couldn't just come out with... remember, in the 40s and 50s, people were Christians. And they didn't believe in otherworldly beings. They would have thought they were demons. Now they were like, everybody's been convinced that they're not demons, they're aliens. So if they show up now, everybody will get down and say, oh my goodness, technology, bow to that. Let's worship that technology. Do whatever they say, you know. Oh, we have to, of course, live in cities, you know, stacked up on top of each other in little sardine cans. And for the betterment of mankind, we've all got to obey the Führer. And there's nothing we can do about it anyway, because they've got so much technology, they're like God. See, but we wouldn't have done that back in the 50s. If they hadn't got us off track and people would have saw these things happening, like our government being taken over by communists, we wouldn't have put up with that. We'd have voted them out. So they took over companies by offering us trinkets and luxuries, and we agreed to it. They gave us sex and leisure, and we agreed to it. Then they came and started... I mean, we didn't care if Johnny was in prison, and Dad was in prison, and little Billy was strung out on cocaine and in prison, and little Sue had, you know, gone to Hollywood and become a prostitute. Come on. Oh, here they come. They got their dog, they're walking. So we'll go the other way. Looks like they're walking a white dog. You stay with me. So yeah, I think this whole... I don't remember if I mentioned it, but Forrestal was against the nation of Israel being established. He was against those barbarians taking over. He knew something about it and he was about to expose it. And somehow this abrupt takeover happened after World War II. And that's when we were told that we won the war. I think what happened was Germany won the war, or these, whoever they were, these barbarians won the war. And then maybe it came to a stalemate or something, I don't know, or they won. And they just told everybody through the media that we won and everything was great, and then they brought them over in Project Paperclip and these different operations and projects. And they built NASA and the CIA. They had to build a delusion around us with Hollywood, NASA telling us all kinds of science stuff that's not true. This is when Einstein, you know, who was the director of the Wilhelm Institute in the Bavaria, right? These people all conspired and lied every day, came on the television and lied to us. And then erased everything that people said. So I don't know what Admiral Byrd said. In truth, it's been scrubbed. But I don't believe he said, oh yeah, we saw aliens. I think what he said was, we saw some advanced technology that Satan had given the world. And they, in order to cover that up, that it was Satan, they just said it was some guy named Tesla. And now he's building electric cars and we're about to go into a one world government. They just about got us. It's about over now. The illusion was so massive that they convinced the world, and almost nobody ever caught on. And the ones who started catching on, they were let off in another wild goose chase. They thought it was aliens or something, and they forgot about the Lord and demons and what Jesus told us not to believe them. It'd be Antichrist, and that they were going to come and rebuild the kingdom of Yahweh and enslave mankind. And they convinced everybody that Yahweh was our deity, and somehow they've made enough trouble in the world that we're just sitting around waiting and hoping and rooting and begging for a government of slavery to come in and impose totalitarian measures. So, yeah, I don't know if in the end they're going to land a UFO and claim it was... I mean, that would put an end to this theory of the divine being right there, wouldn't it? Well, there's no God. Look at, here's some aliens. They're out there and they know what's going on. They've been out there for millions of years. Look at, they got all this history. And there wasn't any God. If there were God, don't you think these aliens would know? And look, they've got more power than God anyway. So we'll just do whatever they say. That's what I think is going on, friends. It's not UFOs. That's not what's going on. It's not UFOs. There's a whole bunch of these crazy conspiracies that they've started to get us off track. One of them is the Israeli government itself. I don't think they give a flying leap about some government named Israel. To be honest with you, I just think they want control. And I think they use certain individuals, weak individuals. A lot of these movie stars are just very, very weak souls. They're lured in with offers of fame and power, money. I guess other people come out here to walk their dogs too. Sun's going down. Yep. All of these #1 bestsellers. Velinkowski, Van Doniken, Sitchin, Fauci, Einstein, Darwin. Uh-oh, here comes another one. It's all a big staged event, everything, to take us from the knowledge of Jesus Christ. Hey, stay here, hon. Oh, they're still here. They're walking their dog, too. No, let's go over here. It's like everybody comes out here about this time. There's a pit bull right there. They're walking their dog too. Come here. I'm just waiting for that pit bull to go follow this truck out of here so that we can walk back. Yeah. So yeah, it's very possible that people like Kennedy and Forrestal were good people, or at least opposed to the world takeover by the powers that be, and favored freedom and the Constitution instead. That's possible. Or they could have been in on it too. Two factions of the bad guys, because you see, we know Kennedy was a rich person, very powerful, put in there by his rich and powerful parents. But so was Forrestal. He was a banker before he became Secretary of Defense. And I don't believe you just become Secretary of Defense. I mean, you know, you read the stories, it sounds like he came from very poor upbringing and, you know, not from a wealthy family at all. No power behind him. But they always say things like that, you know, like I've heard so many times they'll say something like, you know, William Shatner had no job and he was broke, and, you know, just by chance he tried out for the part on Star Trek and they gave it to him, and they didn't think it would last, the show, you know. It was like just by accident that he's not this hero and icon now. But you see, of course, he was one of the members of that group that was propelled to power and fame. And they can orchestrate not only their rise to power, but they can orchestrate the narrative about their rise to power as well. Lights are coming on, it's getting evening. So they claimed that, you know, Tesla was a nobody and everybody hated him and he was just genius, and Westinghouse and, you know, didn't like him, and Edison and all these guys. But they all kind of worked together too. Now, they had some disagreements and stuff, but somebody paid Tesla to sit hauled up in a pyramid in downtown New York, build this huge generator, was doing all these experiments. And it's like they make up the story about how when he died, John Trump goes in and gets the papers. Likely story that John Trump's the one that they give the papers to. It's all set up. It's just staged. They knew that Trump was one of the individuals that they had planned on bringing to power. Just, you know, and these people that supposedly ended up dying, well, they were made idols. Who knows if Kennedy wasn't told, look, we're going to make you a god. We're going to say you were assassinated, you know, like Jesus Christ, crucified. Right? You're going to go off to an island and live it up. You don't have to want for anything. You can turn on the TV on that island and watch everybody give you praises. And, you know, we'll come up with some story about some crazy guy that might have been brainwashed with MK Ultra mind control who killed you, and maybe there was another gunman, and maybe Bush had something to do with it because he was the head of the CIA, and then he becomes, he starts off as the vice president of Reagan, who's an actor. All of this is staged. I don't think it could be staged. Like, if you made a movie, you'd have to have bad guys and good guys, and people that made mistakes, and people that were brilliant, people that were idiots, people that were smart. And we've got all of that. History is woven together like the prose of William Shakespeare. It's just literally impossible for it to have all happened accidentally. The whole way, the means by which you come to power, even then in the 50s and hundreds of years before that, it's always been that you couldn't attain power without attending the universities and being taught their propaganda, being raised. We're all in a mind control, because when we're little, the things that we're taught from the time we're small is brainwashing tactics. Never tell a lie. Never commit perjury against the government. Be, loyal, be a patriot. Never snitch on the government, no matter what they are doing, either out of fear that you might get put in prison or taken to a mental hospital like Forrestal and thrown out the window. That's, by the way, that's what happens to you if you're a Masonic member high up, and you'd have to be a Secretary of Defense. And then you go against them and claim you're going to go tell the world, and, well, you come up dead. That's the vow that you take. So I'm not saying Forrestal was a good guy. You look at him and you see that he was a banker, and he did a lot of stuff that didn't seem quite right. And the fact that they're publicly and telling everybody, oh yeah, he was probably murdered. Oh yeah, he hated communists, and he didn't like those Bavarians over there, and they're telling us all of this because they want you to believe that's why he died, because he was a good guy and he was opposing the bad guys, and there's always good guys, see? And maybe Trump's a good guy, and he's going to come in and whoop some arse, And so we start believing in these good guys. And then there's, connections between Kennedy and Trump. And obviously Tesla, and then Elon Musk, because of the name Tesla, and the fact that John Trump got the Tesla papers. So all the supposed good guys right now are all related to the people who, were murdered, like Forrestal. So you can either believe that these were all good guys, and the bad guys are getting rid of them and murdering them. But then how do you explain Trump becoming president? Well, the government had enough. The military had enough, Dave, and they decided to take back the country for the people. So they told Trump, this is what we're going to do. Well, the military is what they warned us about. The military-industrial complex that had taken over. Now, and so now it's that saves the day? Did you see Biden's talk to the nation? I don't even know what you'd call it. What was that little talk called? His speech to the world? Behind him, in bright blood red. Bright blood, eerie, dark, blood red. And two, what looks like military guards standing. Very threatening. And he says to all of us Christians, basically that's who he's talking to. Remember, they did this to the Muslims once, right? They slandered the Muslims and their beliefs and said they were all terrorists, and then they went in and had a war and killed them all. And nobody cared. And that's what they're about to do here. There's going to come a time here very soon, when Jesus told us, that they will take us before kings and rulers. For whose sake? For whose name's sake? Jesus' name. I guarantee, I will promise you, or my name is not David Vos. My name's not Oral Rockenberger, whatever that guy's name was. I don't even remember his name. I guarantee it. This isn't 98%, this isn't 99% true chance. This is 100% going to happen within a very short time, within months. They're going to be coming for people who are Christians. They're going to be executing people. I suppose that's what these guillotines were for, that they ordered a few years back. They stockpiling on guillotines. The Bible does say they'll be beheaded. And why would they be beheaded? Why not just electrocute or something? Well, it's faster to behead them. And that way they're dead and it's gone, it's over. And, of course, it's prophesied. But not only that, remember, we're going back under the law of Yahweh. And under the law of Yahweh, what did they do? If you broke the law, you had to be beheaded. Either stoned, beheaded, or crucified. And they saved crucifixion for anyone who was cursed under the law. So that's why Jesus was crucified. But if you were an adulterer, they stoned you. But they had an option. They could stone you or behead you. And this is why in Muslim countries they behead people. So we're going back under the Abrahamic Accords. Of course they're going to do it under the laws of Yahweh, according to those laws. If you don't get the mark of Yahweh in your hand or your forehead, you'll be beheaded. And you know, you say, well, we're safe, we're Christians, we believe in the same God, right? This Abrahamic Accord, this covenant. We all have the same deity. No, we don't. We believe in Jesus, unless you're not a Christian anymore, and you've decided to go back, like the Apostle Paul says, like the dog to its vomit. And you've apostatized, and you've gone back again to the law, and want to slave all over again for it, Paul says. All over again. You who want to be under the law. Don't you understand it's about slavery? So all I'm telling you is if you do believe in Jesus, or you think you do, you better make sure you get yourself a testimony real fast. I know that's not a very nice way to say it, but what I'm saying is you better start getting on your knees and thinking about what's going on here and praying. Because when it comes down to that last moment, if you don't have the faith to say, no, I will not bow the knee to the beast and his government, and I will not execute my family members, or tell and snitch on these homeless, and no, I won't join the military and start executing people on the street because they didn't want to get some mark in their hand or forehead. Or no, I don't want to be a school teacher and start, and be told that I've got to go in and tell our children that they need to cut parts of their body off at the age of 5 and disfigure them and deform them and torture children and convince little boys that they need to be little girls. No, I'm not willing to be a nurse and jab. Well, I'll have to take that out of this video. Sorry. I have to be careful what I say here. But anyway, friends, please, it's now that we need to get before the Lord on our knees and ask for his Holy Spirit, not later. There will not be any time later for this. It's coming sooner than you think. Check the mail. It's coming sooner than you think. It's all quiet over there. On a Sunday morning sidewalk, I'm wishing the Lord that I was gone, that I was stoned. How's that go? And there's something in a Sunday that makes a body feel alone. Nothing. And there's nothing short to dying half as lonesome as the song. I don't remember the words. But it's one of those Sundays, and it's beautiful. It's a wonderful, beautiful day. And I'm feeling happy. And I hope you are too. And I'm blessed, and I hope you are blessed as well. And we'll be doing some videos here, guys, in the very near future. This is what we're going to start focusing on. We have to find the supernatural, as that television program says. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, because that's what we need to do, is find that supernatural. Right? We need to find the divine, still small voice within to help us and guide us through what's about to happen, because it's going to happen. And for those of you who think I'm just a party pooper and that I'm all negative, and why don't I start talking more positive, and you know, you're just getting a little negative now, Dave. Well, listen, I always explain to you guys that it is up to us. We do have authority over these demons. We do have authority over the governments of this world. The problem is, it's about too late for the world. They've already made up their mind. And they didn't choose the Lord. And that's something, all we can do now is go out and sound the warning. And be there for the ones who are ready to turn away from this wicked world. And find the Lord. But, and there's good news for those who do. Not one hair of our head will be harmed. We don't have to be afraid of these people. They'll come and they'll take us before kings and rulers. But it says it will turn out for a witness. Don't be scared. Not one hair of your head will be harmed. It will turn out for you as a witness. And whoever endures unto the end is the one that will be what? Murdered? No. We come off victorious from the beast in his image and his name. We get the seal of the living deity upon our forehead. We got victory. We sing the song of the Lamb. We're going to be changed on the Mount of Transfiguration. See? But everyone else gets the mark of the beast. As long as you don't do that, and you stand firm, and you endure to the end, which means you're going to have faith in the Lord. So if you're not sure about the Lord, if you don't know, and you don't have a testimony within your heart, because the Holy Spirit, if you receive His Holy Spirit, it will bear witness with your spirit that you are His son and daughter. But if you don't have that Holy Spirit, and you don't have that testimony, it's going to be very, very difficult to be courageous and strong. So this is why we have to talk about it. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go in and get this loaded, guys. And hope you guys have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Before I go, look at these puppies. They're all coming. Look at them come. It's a stampede. There's the little huskies. The two right there that are the huskies. And this is the little Fluffy. I love little Fluffy. Alright guys, we'll see you tomorrow.